Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a truly profound historical narrative. The moment the mighty river Nile reportedly just stopped flowing. We're going to explore how, according to historical accounts, a completely devastating drought was met not with massive engineering projects, but with a simple act of faith that literally altered the course of Egyptian history. Okay, let's dive into this, because the central mystery here is absolutely fascinating. I mean, how on earth did a single letter reportedly save an entire civilization from drought? Honestly, it sounds like pure folklore. But according to historical accounts from the era, this is exactly what went down. We're going to examine how a simple piece of paper was said to have stopped a looming catastrophe that was threatening the lives of millions. So to understand how we even get to that letter, we first need to set the scene a bit. We are in Egypt right during the era of Caliph Umar Farouk. The region has recently come under new leadership. Specifically, the conqueror Amr bin al-As. Now, you know how it is when new leadership takes over. A clash of cultures is pretty much inevitable. The rulers are trying to understand the locals are figuring out the new leaders, and very quickly, Amr bin al-As is introduced to a local tradition that completely shocked him. The locals explained that the Nile, which was their absolute lifeline, demanded a horrific price. Every single year, they believed the river literally required a human sacrifice to keep flowing and irrigate their crops. Here's what they do. They would choose a virgin girl, dress her up in the finest clothes and stunning jewels, and then throw her alive into the rushing waters. To the ancient Egyptians living at that time, this ritual was seen as entirely necessary for their survival. Like, if they didn't do it, they genuinely believed they would starve. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive ideological collision. On one hand, you have this ancient superstition demanding human sacrifice. But according to historical texts, Amr bin al-As issued an absolute refusal. He basically said, no way. He declared that under Islamic rule, there was zero room for such customs. He informed the locals that Islam strictly prohibited these cruel practices, and so, that year, the sacrifice was officially canceled. But actions have consequences. Or, at the very least, the timing of what happened next was utterly terrifying for the locals. Because the ritual wasn't performed, the Nile's water levels began to drop. It was steady at first, and then drastically falling. Eventually, the unthinkable happened. The mighty river Nile dried up completely. Suddenly, famine and death by thirst weren't just abstract fears anymore. They were an imminent reality. The Egyptians, realizing their total dependence on the river, actually started preparing for a mass exodus. They were ready to abandon their homeland entirely just to survive. I mean, just imagine the pressure on Amr bin al-As in this moment. He stuck to his principles, right? He stopped a human sacrifice. But now, faced with the total collapse of local agriculture, this impossible crisis emerges. Both human lives and his ideological integrity are on the line. Completely out of options, he drafts a desperate letter to the ultimate authority, Caliph Umar Farouk, who is stationed far away in Medina. Amr details the whole dire situation, the drying river, the mass panic, the impending famine, and essentially begs for advice on how to handle it. Well, the Caliph receives this urgent plea, and his response is highly unusual, to say the least. He sends a letter back to Amr bin al-As, but tucked inside that envelope was another, smaller, mysterious piece of paper. And the instruction from the Caliph? It wasn't about digging wells or, managing food rations. His command was incredibly specific. He ordered Amr to take that small piece of paper and throw it directly into the dry bed of the river Nile. So what was actually written on that paper? It wasn't an engineering schematic. It was a direct address to the river itself. Caliph Umar had written these exact words: "If you flow by your own will, then do not flow. But if you flow by the command of Allah, the One, the Subduer, then I pray to Allah to make you flow." Think about the sheer gravity of those words for a second. It represents a complete paradigm shift, moving from trying to appease a river through a sacrificial ritual to commanding nature through absolute monotheistic faith. Let's trace the exact timeline of that fateful Friday, just as it's outlined in the historical accounts. On Friday morning, Amr bin al-As receives the response, reads the Caliph's letter, and is reportedly moved to tears. Friday afternoon arrives, and after the congregational prayers, the public gathers together. Amr explains exactly what the Caliph has commanded. Then, as the sun begins to lower on that Friday evening, Amr walks to the edge of the drought-stricken river and drops that single piece of paper into the dry, dusty riverbed. Now, what's really interesting about this next detail is the unbelievable scale of what happened. The historical accounts highlight a very specific, astonishing number, 16. The sources claim that the very next morning, the people of Egypt woke up to a roaring sound. The water level of the Nile hadn't just trickled back, it had miraculously risen by 16 hands in a single night. According to the narrative, the visual contrast must have been completely staggering. Imagine going from a cracked, dry riverbed the evening before to a raging river the very next morning. The accounts state that the river was completely full, overflowing its banks, with water actively crashing against the edges. In an instant, the drought reportedly ended, irrigating the parched lands and pulling an entire civilization back from the brink of starvation and collapse. And the sources note that the impact of this went way, way beyond just agriculture and basic survival. Witnessing this incredible turnaround triggered a massive societal shift. Historical texts record a massive wave of conversions to Islam as the population abandoned those ancient fears and rituals. It wasn't just a historical footnote, it was a profound psychological and ideological change for an entire society, replacing deeply held local traditions with a new monotheistic framework. Which brings us to a final thought for us to consider today. What actually happens when a society replaces deep-rooted fear and superstition with unwavering faith? The story of the Nile and Caliph Umar's letter illustrates how a sudden ideological shift can reshape a civilization's landscape literally overnight. It really challenges us to look at our own fears and ask, what might we be needlessly sacrificing to them? Thanks for exploring this amazing historical account with us today.